All right, welcome to our next video in this series. This is our 8th checkpoint. Your code should be pretty well and sophisticated at this point, right? We insert numbers, text, and dates into our grid. We can clear, we can save and load. And most impressively, in checkpoint 7, we installed formulas. Well, we're going to take those formulas to the next level. There's going to be another kind of formula that we can install. It's still going to work inside FormulaCell. We don't need a new type of cell, but what we're going to call this one is sum and average formulas. So if you see the test cases I have here, and I go ahead and fire this up, when I say load test.txt, it loads in, I'll start with the first grid. It loads in 5, 3, and 10, and we say go ahead and sum those up in B1, and sure enough, 10 plus 5 plus 3 is 18. And then I say for B2, go ahead and take the average. Well, the average of 5, 3, and 10 is in fact 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6. We print that out. And then I want to demonstrate something I had meant to demonstrate in the checkpoint 7 video, which is if we have a formula that's dependent on a cell and the value in that cell changes, we want our formula also to update. So for example, if I said after printing this first time, all right, now change A1, it was 5, now make it 10, now print out the grid. Well, we see that the sum is 113, the average is 37 2/3, something like that. Okay, so how do we do this? What are these commands going to look like? Well, as you can see in the example right here, a sum command looks an awful lot like a FormulaCell command because, importantly, the third token is sum. So if I have a process command method, and process command for me lives in VisiCalc, I'm checking, is it help, is it quit, is it clear, whatever we're doing. If it's none of those things, then I'm starting to think it's a cell assignment, right? We're trying to put a number or text or date or now a formula somewhere in the grid. And so I'm starting to look at my command that was given by the user, and I'm looking for some information about what it is. If I see that the third token, the third token, I goofed that up. The third token is a open parentheses. If I see that, then we're looking for a formula, and just like we did in checkpoint 7, I'm going to go ahead and save the highlighted portion on the screen right now as my formula. And when I go to evaluate my formula later, right now, when we go to evaluate our formula, we assume a formula might look something like A1 plus 5. We were saying, hey, these tokens, it's either going to be a cell reference, like A1, or it's just going to be a straight up number, like 5. Well, now, before I do either of those things, I should check, is my first token in my formula, is it the word sum? And later we're going to check, is it the word average, or the token average? If it's sum, well, then we're not going to use the while loop and the first number and operator next number. We're not going to use the tools that we used for evaluating formulas before. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say, all right, if the first token of formula is sum, then we can assume that the ones after that, so the second token will be the first, the second token will be the start in range for the range that we're going to be summing. The third token is the dash, which we can ignore. Third token is dash, which we ignore. And the fourth token, I'm going to give these their own lines. Fourth token is the end in the range. So we ignore the dash, and all we need to figure out is, all right, if it's sum, figure out where am I starting, and it's going to be at A1. Where am I ending? It's going to be at A3. All right, so the next thing you would want to do is get the starting row and column indexes, and then get the ending row, column indexes. So then you should have 4 numbers that you're dealing with, right? What is the, what's the start row index? That's 2. What's the ending row index? That's 3 and 4. But then here comes the big challenge. is the range I was provided vertical, as was shown here, or was it horizontal? So now that you're holding these 4 rows and columns, there's some if logic you can do to determine if it's horizontal or vertical. Some of you may be wondering, well, what about rectangular? What if I wanted to get the sum from A1 to C6, right? Get all of those values. Rectangular is extra credit. Although I'm told every year that students say rectangular summing and averaging is just not as hard as they thought it was going to be. So if you're curious, take a swing at it, because if you treat everything like a rectangle, you don't have to worry about if it's horizontal or vertical. You can have, tall, skinny rectangles, which would be your one vertical column, or short horizontal rectangles, which would be your flat horizontal column. So that's what to consider. Is it vertical? Is it horizontal? Are you going for the challenge, which is sorting in a rectangular range? And then you need to set up a loop which traverses the range and adds to a sum. And then what you would do is wherever it is that you are evaluating your formula, it should display that sum when that happens. So when you've got, go through, visit all the cells, add 103 and 10, and when the time comes to show B1, it should go check those values and present 113. Okay. Well, average actually isn't a lot different. Just imagine that instead of saying B1 equals the sum of A1 through A3, instead we've got average is A1 through A3. Well, at this point, I'm checking to see is the first token of formula average. And if it is, I actually do almost identically everything I did for sum, except I should probably add a counter to see for the number of cells. And then when I go to display the value, I display sum divided by count. And that's it. Thanks for watching.